So this week is a very special edition of the GCN Tech Clinic because, what can I say? I'm on location here at the Dubai tour. Now I don't have my toolkit with me, so I can't go too in depth, but I still reckon I can tackle your questions. Let's see. First up this week is a question from Sophie, who's got a braking problem. Yeah, nobody likes braking problems because, well, they help you stop. So the problem is that they're pulling the lever, and despite re-greasing the cable, replacing the cable, it's still not working well. So the first thing I would check is make sure, if you've got ferrules on the end of your outer cable, is make sure they're fully pressed all the way on. But also, importantly, is at the end of that outer cable, before you put the ferrule on, is to actually make sure that it's a very clean cut, very flat. Then put that ferrule on fully all the way. That way, you're not going to get any slight movement of the ferrule on the end of the brake cable. So making sure there's none of that, there's no gap on the end and you're not braking effectively in the air, if that makes any sense. So make sure of that. Another thing to also check is to make sure that the calipers and levers actually match up. So Shimano and Shimano, SRAM and SRAM, Campagnolo and Campagnolo. Reason being, they actually have a different lever pull ratio to the brake. So that's really important to remember. Right, now next question is from Mark, who wants to know when to replace a tyre. Well, like you say, obviously if there's any nicks or cuts in the tyre, then sometimes it's time for a new tyre. But in other times, you can actually just fill those holes in with super glue just to actually try and prolong the life of the tyre. Now as for indicators, to let you know when to replace the tyre, actually Continental, who do supply us with tyres here at GCN, they have two little indicator holes on the top of the tyre. Now they're not obviously holes all the way through. Those holes, they go just a couple of mil beneath the surface of the rubber. And essentially once you can't see those holes anymore, you know it's time to replace the tyre. So that's one brand in particular who are doing something about that. Another thing to keep an eye on, make sure that the tyre still has a rounded profile across the top. Once it goes flat, basically the tyre's not going to do its job properly when you're going around a corner. So just keep an eye on those things and you'll be good to go. Next up is Lone Wolf, even give me a name check, thank you very much. Problem with a rim flexing against the brake pads when they get out of the saddle for the first few strokes. Now if your wheel is in straight, actually check the spoke tension, because there could be some flex in there that when you're putting a bit of weight through the front end of the bike, that rim is just moving over and touching the brake pads. Also, maybe you've just got your brakes set very, very close to the rim. So naturally you're going to get that bit of movement. Okay, so Stuart wants to know, how long do gear cables last? It's a great question because I honestly don't know, but do take care of them. So when you're washing the bike, make sure you don't use any harsh degreasers that are going to get in there and wash out any grease from the cables. Obviously use as well, once you've finished washing the bike, a good water displacing spray so that you're removing any of the water from inside and then preventing any rust of the inner and also the inside of the outer cable too. Keep a good eye as well to make sure that the cables aren't frayed where they're clamped into the derailleurs. Obviously on this bike here I've got electronic gears, so I can't show you that exactly, but also inspect the outer cable too. So where there's any sharp bends or where they enter a ferrule, make sure that the outer cable casing is not cracking at all. But who knows, they could last up to 2 or 3 years, I guess, maybe longer, maybe less. It all depends on the riding conditions. Right, Christian wants to know, does vinegar help grip on tyres or reduce the chance of punctures? Well, that is a brilliant question. Did you know what? I actually know the answer to this, or kind of. Firstly, I'm going to let you know it's not the vinegar that you put on your fish and chips, it's actually white vinegar. And I've seen this done by the Great Britain mechanics inside of a velodrome. They actually did it using a degassed tubular tyre, and that was one of the pink ones, which from memory, it's quite a while ago now, is a latex treaded tyre. So essentially, they got that white vinegar, coated a sponge in it, then went around the tyre, and then the riders went out and rode. Did it improve the grip? I don't know, but there must be some logic behind it because they were brand new tyres, and sometimes brand new tyres on a velodrome are quite slippy. Whether or not they reduce the chance of punctures, can't tell you, I'm afraid, because inside of a velodrome it's pretty rare we actually see anyone get a puncture. But try it and let me know how you get on. Next up is this question from Hitesh, who wants to know, how often should you replace a bike helmet, and does foam degrade? This is a great question actually, because I used to work for a helmet brand and manufacturer, so I've got a little bit of inside knowledge. However, most helmet brands, in fact none of them, give a definite answer when you should replace it. Obviously the outer shell, so that polycarbonate shell, can get damaged by UV rays, especially if you're somewhere like this in Dubai. Obviously in the UK, we don't get that much sun. We get a little bit, but yeah, it can degrade the foam and the polycarbonate shell. But what's also important to remember, if you do drop your helmet, even from a very small height or very gently, it can still damage that helmet and essentially render it useless, because you may well have some tiny little hairline cracks in amongst the foam where basically the helmet has done its job, even if you weren't wearing it at the time. Also, take care and try and keep the helmet clean. I actually give mine a good old scrub in the shower. I use some shower gel just to clean it off, and I don't use any harsh chemicals at all, because you don't know what that's going to do with the foam. It may well react to it. Also, remember those pads too. Take them out and give them a good clean with some shower gel. Rinse them out thoroughly, because after all, if you start sweating, you don't want some soap to come down into your eyes. Final question this week is from Dan, who is thinking about changing to tubeless tyres. But what are the pros and cons? Well, let's tackle the pros first of all. Obviously there's going to be less rolling resistance because you're removing the inner tube, and then essentially you're reducing that friction in between a tube and a tyre. Although it's not a lot, there is still some there. Also, you're going to do away with a high risk of pinch punctures because there's no tube in there to pinch. You can also run the tyres at a lower pressure too, which is quite a trendy thing, or even scientifically proven to be a little bit faster. And finally, one of my favourite pros about it is that you can put some sealant in there when you set them up, and essentially if you get a bit of thorn or glass in the tyre, once that's out, the sealant does its job and seals that hole so you can continue riding, which for someone who doesn't like to stop at the side of the road and change inner tubes, that is pretty important. Now the only cons really for me is actually the tyre choice and the tyre availability. At the moment, there's not a huge range out there, so if you're particularly fussy about your tyres and treads and brands, then maybe it's not the thing for you. But I'm sure that as we see tubeless tyres continue to develop and evolve, we'll see more brands manufacturing and releasing different types of tyres. Right, I hope you've enjoyed that and I've helped fix your bicycles. Remember as well to leave your tech problems for me down there in the comments. I love reading them, and most importantly, I love getting you back out on your bike. There's no excuse because Johnny Tech is here. Now, remember to like and share this video with your friends, and for another great video on why the pros choose their stem length, click here.